Kia ora and welcome to Cinema in Context, where we discuss all things film and the connections between. My name is Jeremy Downing.
I'm William Chen.
And I'm Sarah Watt.
And each month at Cinema in Context, we discuss two films, one current and one retrospective with some connection. It could be the same director, the same actor, or a similar theme. This month, we are discussing The Last Showgirl, which came out last year, this year, depending on which region you're in, and Barb Wire, which came out in 1996. The connection being that they both star, who is now known as Pamela Anderson, was Pamela Anderson Lee then, and previously she was Pamela Anderson. So take your pick, people. Please be aware that we will be discussing spoilers for both films. And with that, Sarah, give us a bit of an overview of the more recent The Last Showgirl.
Well, ladies, gentlemen, and everybody we love, Pamela Anderson is back. And she plays the eponymous Last Showgirl in Gia Coppola's gritty portrait of life on the seedy Las Vegas Strip. And Ms. Anderson plays the Last Showgirl. Her name is Shelley. Shelley has been a dancer on the Strip for several decades, and she is on the cusp of not just being relegated to the back row of the dancers, but finding out that the club, the Le Razzle Dazzle, the Parisian-themed revue for which she dances, is on the verge of closure. That's enough of a story for now, and we'll talk about the substance of all of that in due course.
All right, William, give us an overview of 1996's Barb Wire.
All right, it's just Casablanca.
Yeah.
Okay. Except extreme.
Yeah.
So this is directed by Brad Wyman from Dark Horse Comics. So it is a comic book adaptation of the 90s ilk, which, oh boy, let's talk about the 90s thing real soon. But basically, it is about vigilantes, the government, authoritarianism, and just like Casablanca, a bar where everything goes down and where, people are trying to find free passage into the free lands of Canada.
Nice.
Oh, and Pamela Anderson, sorry. Of course, she is the star. She stars as...
She's the Humphrey Bogart.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, is she ever?
Yeah.
Very similar qualities.
That's right.
But she is Barb, who is an ex-bounty hunter / cop / soldier in an amazing flashback.
Slash stripper?
She's a stripper, she's a
dancer.
bar owner, she's a lot of things. And
She's a lover and a fighter. Yes.
sometimes at the same time.
That's right.
And she is here to, stay neutral when things go bad. But she realizes that sometimes you just can't stay neutral anymore.
Nice.
So I watched Barb Wire as a child.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And I think rewatching it yesterday in preparation for this recording, I was like, my gosh, this was not an appropriate film for me to watch.
Mainly the opening scene, right?
Yeah.
With the water.
So much water.
The shower scene on the swing with the boobs and
Yeah.
oh my goodness,
But
it
I
was
did-
amazing.
It did make me realize, that I remember watching it with a friend of mine, and both of us have since come out as gay or queer, and finding it quite hilarious, the nudity. Didn't find it titillating at all. So there
Titillating.
you go.
Yeah.
But no, I look back at my IMDb ranking of this film. I gave it a 4 out of 10.
Which is more than IMDb does.
Yeah.
IMDb gave it a 3.8 or a 3.6.
Hey, I lifted it to a 5. I had
I
quite a
actually
good
thought
time.
it was amazing. I mean, okay, not amazing, but I thought it was great.
I thought it was actually, it had a cohesive story.
No, Jeremy. When you look on the internet and you go, why was Barb Wire a flop? AI tells me it's because it had a lame story and terrible production values. I beg to differ. The production values are amazing.
For the money that obviously, the lack of money that
That's
obviously
right.
went
All
into this
expense
movie.
spared is what we like
Oh
to
my
say.
goodness, are they ever?
Yeah.
Gosh, along with you guys, had such a good time watching this movie.
Yeah.
I think there are some things about it which we'll get into, which to me, it doesn't get into the camp heights of something like Barbarella, which I loved when we did. But it's getting there, and a lot of the things that really shine out to me is just as I was saying, the 90s of it all.
It's the 90s-ness.
The 90s-ness.
Oh, so much.
So
much.
90s. This is the spiritual sequel to Batman Forever.
That's exactly what I thought.
Well, you know, so that
The
the director
I read
was
afterwards, second unit. Yeah.
And on Alien 3, because it looks to me a lot like Alien. He was the
I
second
agree.
unit director
I
on
agree.
Alien 3.
Yeah.
And so I was
The
thinking...
shadows and the grit and the smoke.
Absolutely, and all the Dutch angles.
Oh my gosh, was this film filmed in Canada? In Amsterdam?
Oh my gosh. So,
I thought the cinematography and the photography was just wonderful.
I thought it
There
was.
were some really impressive shots throughout the whole film.
There was a tremendous shot where the head Nazi, he's not, but he might as well be. It's an overhead shot, and he's walking into, it's not the prison, it's the bar, isn't it? But he's walking in, and the overhead shot comes down. He comes through the revolving gate, and the camera meets him there. It's a tremendous shot.
Yeah.
So what are people being so rude about?
I couldn't help but think about the Mad Max
I
films.
could, same.
I thought about Baz Luhrmann's work in Romeo and Juliet. I thought about, Batman Forever. Yeah. And there was this... I actually thought of Candyman as well, because there's that same
Of Xander
90s...
Berkeley.
Well, just the 90s-ness of...
Oh, no, that's interesting, because I actually... So that's funny you should say that, and this is not really to my credit, but the bouncer, I thought, oh, isn't he the chap from Candyman? And looked him up, and he isn't remotely. But that made me think of the grittiness of 90s Candyman.
Yeah.
And Strange
Yeah.
Days, which I don't know if you've seen. It is an underseen, underappreciated, amazing Catherine Bigelow thriller with Ralph Fiennes and Juliette Lewis. And it's set in the future, and Tom Sizemore, and it's grim as anything, and it's highly worth watching. It is as R18 as it comes, and it's nasty, but it's very much dystopian future kind of technology is amazing, because this also made me think of Total Recall with the whole the incessant kind of retinal scan, and the obsession with contact lenses, which seems so old-fashioned,
And plastic surgery to completely change your face.
oh my goodness.
But you can't change those eyes.
That's right. Unless you put those blue ones on. And of course, if you go through customs with those bright blue peepers, no one will think a thing, will they? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just the Candyman connection. When Xander Berkeley's name appeared on screen, this is the first time I watched
Of course.
it.
Is he in Candyman?
Yes,
I'd
he's
forgotten
the
that.
dirtbag husband
Of
of
course
Virginia
he
Madsen.
is.
And it was, I
Of course he is.
applauded in front
Yeah.
of my TV.
He's a really cool character in this.
I
and
think
he's
good
great.
in
And
this.
Udo Kier, is it?
Oh
Yes.
my god! When all these names, it's like one after the other. Xander Berkeley, Udo Kier, Temuera Morrison.
Yeah, no,
hell
Tim,
yeah!
Tim got second billing, bro.
Yeah.
And he wasn't in it. Second billing's worth
He's
of the
so
thing.
young and he looks great.
He's so handsome. And he gets to snog Pamela Anderson in an elevator.
Okay. Can we talk about that scene? Because
Yeah.
there's a comment that his wife, she says, like, oh, we married at that time purely
For the papers.
But then the implication is that there's been a love that's
I
developed.
thought she was going to go, but our love's developed since, but she doesn't say that.
And there's a clear tension there when she sees them making out.
But then she doesn't kick up Bobsy Die about it.
No. And
But
then
is that,
and and it's not ambiguous for, like, artistic sake. It's just like not that clear what is happening.
That's exactly right. So maybe that's where AI was telling me it's not a very well written
Yeah.
script, Sarah.
Yeah, what I do know as well is that Pamela Anderson was the one that actually suggested some of the more, the nudity. So I think the studio was putting pressure on the director to bring more nudity into it. She had a dream about the opening title sequence, which she brought to him.
Yeah.
He's like, great, love it. It's an amazing sequence.
It's an amazing
It makes
scene.
no real sense beyond her just need to infiltrate that.
Yeah.
It's like the James Bond prologue, isn't it?
Yes, it very much is.
Albeit via Flashdance. And then there was that sequence where she has the bubble bath.
Yes.
Which, do you know, they had
Pretty woman.
they had to film that
Yeah.
in an aquarium because they couldn't, for some reason, the bath that they needed to use was so expensive.
The champagne glass bath.
And sadly, the suds killed so many fish life. It cost production something like $440,000.
Oh my goodness, they don't take the fish out
and
of
insurance.
the aquarium.
Well, they left the soap suds in the thing. I don't quite know. What I know is it cost
Holy
production
moly.
a lot of money.
Wow.
The death of all these fish because they needed a naked.
I just
bath
noticed that the
sequence.
suds weren't very realistic because when she gets out and holds the
they
towel
perfectly
around
cover
her.
her, yeah.
No, she holds the towel around the front of her so that her back and everything naked is to Temuera. And she's got the bubbles on. I was like, they're not very realistic bubbles. So it's clearly, production design bubbles. But all the things that you remember from this film, I'd never seen it before. I was around at the time that it came out. It was the year of Heat. Also with Xander Berkeley.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, well actually it was the year after Heat technically, because this is 96 and I think Heat was...
He was the king of the 90s.
Yeah. But the obsession with... And the ability in those days to get away with making a film that was about a very, very, very overly sexy woman with a 17-inch waist that had been corseted in to be that small, with machine guns and a toughness and the leather and the boobs and everything. You know what I mean? You wouldn't do that nowadays.
She's so charismatic, and she's so charismatic whilst also not being a very good actor.
But at least she plays it low-key.
Yeah, I was wondering how much of that was her and how much of that was what the script asked of her, right? Because she goes through the entire movie basically being a hard-ass robot. I don't think she ever tries to be sexy or funny or emote, really.
No.
But yeah, basically it's not a bad performance. It's just such a limited one.
Compared with Elizabeth Berkley in Showgirls, which we toyed with, we toyed with saying let's do Showgirls and The Last Showgirl. Yeah. And I have tried twice now to watch Showgirls, and the acting is just appalling, and it's over the top appalling. So kudos to Pamela Anderson Lee for playing it more muted, I think. But I think she was probably just trying to be a badass, and that was her way of doing that.
Every line was delivered like this.
That's right. And still with the breathy voice to a large degree. You know, you had to tune in, you had to key in to hear what she was saying.
The lighting on her face in so many shots, like the precision of how they're filming her, the way that she looks through her kind of sort of wet hair. She's been clearly put together for this film.
The wigs were awful. I have to say, the wigs were really unfortunate. Now, I don't know what Pam's real hair was like. I know what it's like now, but I don't know what it was like then. But occasionally in some of the scenes, her hair was really nicely done, and in most of them it looked like a horrible matted wig that had obviously been designed to be very bouffant, very big, you know, very almost Dolly Parton-esque, but it looked horrid.
Do you know what wasn't horrid? The dummies.
Which dummies?
All the dummies they throw off high buildings. Oh. Like, why don't we have more dummies in action movies?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh. I was watching with my partner, and there's a shootout, and people on the roof. And I turned to her and was like, I sure hope a dummy gets thrown off a roof. And lo and behold, it happened, and I was so happy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I thought the action sequences in this film were really impressive.
Yeah.
Like the ending sequence on the crane.
Yeah. Oh, that was amazing.
Which
is
is
so
obviously
James Bond.
shot with such a limited budget, right? That nothing sci-fi, which is hilarious. It's just normal machines and normal motorbikes.
Absolutely.
But it's still exciting, and it has that, as you say, Jeremy, that Mad Max feel of stuff being duct taped together. Which is actually really, really thrilling.
Yeah.
And I love the sequence where she goes to, I forget the guy's name, Krebs, what's his name? She goes to the apartment block, and it's very noir, and she's got that.
Well, also she's got her noir voiceover, doesn't she? She has about 5 lines of, normally I wouldn't come here by myself. But this was an exception, kind of, you know. Anyway.
And kind of blow, like this shaving cream blowing up the thing.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed all that. And there was some really good shots in that. Like there's some very reminding me of a lot of Tarantino stuff with the overhead shot of her walking into the apartment. There's some really confident cinematography and artistry going on in this film.
So it's so mean. Like, okay, we're going to get onto this anyway, because we're going to talk about Pamela, and we're going to talk about what happened in the many, many years between Barb Wire and now. But it's so mean that it's scored so lowly. I mean, I felt uncomfortable at 2 points. I felt a little uncomfortable with the opening scene, except that she's so into it, and if she's into it, I'm into it, and that's all goods. But you know what I mean, only awkward as in we don't objectify women quite like this anymore unless you're a French French female filmmaker. And the only other scene, not the only, but the main other scene I felt very uncomfortable in was with the beautiful models who were lying on the gurneys with the metal on their boobs and the metal on their groin, and you know, and they were trying to have their memories extracted. That was blatantly pornographically titillating and inappropriate and
Well, I think they
gross.
should have just gone for more camp, because that reminded me a lot, going back to the
Barbarella.
magnum opus Barbarella
Yeah.
with the Orgasmatron.
Right.
And that was, again, it was hilarious, right? It was meant for comedy.
Barbarella was.
Barbarella was,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that scene specifically.
Yeah, but this is torture, and this is, and it's, but it's,
I just think they should have gone more camp.
Sure.
And I think it was heading in that direction, because the devices and how their hair was stretched, it just looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
The men around the sides, I don't know if you noticed, but that's made me uncomfortable as well, that there were a whole lot of like no mark extras, and they were just sort of wearing the equivalent, I suppose, of like raincoats, dirty raincoats, and I was like, oh, this is gratuitously nasty, but again, I hate to say it, it's really in keeping with Strange Days and other 90s sort of fare,
Well, let's talk about what happened, because, have you seen the documentary
I have.
that Pamela Anderson's son produced?
Yes. A beautiful film.
Yeah, and she talks about how...
Is it called Dear Pamela?
Love
Pamela?
Yeah, and she
Great
talks about
film.
how people often claim that she really did well out of the released sex tape of her and her then husband Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
And she categorically denies that. She says, that was not helpful for me. I just had Barb Wire come out.
Yeah.
Or it was coming out.
Yeah.
My career was going really well.
Yeah,
And
with
when
Baywatch.
released-
Because they did consider her an actress as well as somebody who just looked incredible in a red one-piece swimsuit.
Yeah, and then when that came out, her career never recovered. She said Tommy Lee did really well out of it. He looked like a rock star, but for her, she was this kind of slighted woman.
sullied kind of woman. She did some voice work over the years, and one. I mean, obviously, she was the Playboy pinup and all that sort of thing. But she did some voice work as a cartoon character called Erotica Jones, and I feel sympathetic about that sort of thing, because part of it might be, yep, I'm going to play up the whole thing around me, I bought into that, I am part of the construct of my own persona, la 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 la, but also, regrettably, there's sort of the typecasting and the pigeonholing, I suppose, is a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, and I guess the other notable part of her story publicly is that she's gone into red carpet spaces now and actively not worn makeup and being quite public about that as a protest, or not even as a protest, just that this is who I am.
Yes.
I'm not going to apply, like I did in my early days.
And interviews and red carpets and everything, actually. Anything public, which is amazing.
I don't mean to be, and this might be an inappropriate question, but has she had her silicone breast implants removed?
That's a good question. I don't know. I have seen The Last Showgirl.
Does she have them? I'm assuming she does.
Yeah, no, she definitely got them back in
boobs
the day.
definitely look
Definitely.
very large.
Those are not, that's not the shape of a natural bosom in Barb Wire. I mean, you can do things to make them look a bit like that, but even so, you can tell that those are not a natural bosom. I can't remember in Last Showgirl. I don't know. I mean, she may have had more modern work done that makes it not look as
I don't think she
fake.
Yeah, but I just know that is a big thing as well with certain people who've had breast implants and then understood the for them the dangers of that and the pain of that, and actually let's get it removed.
Yeah.
So I'd just be interested. It would fit regardless whether she has or hasn't. That's by the by.
Yeah. But
I
it
guess
would
what
go
I'm trying
with
to just with her re-narrating her life and claiming back. Not to say it sounds like she was quite in control during Barb Wire's recording of, like I said, putting forward some of those more explicit
Yes,
scenes.
it's not an exploitative film.
Yeah,
I
it's just
wouldn't say that
interesting.
at all. But I'm disappointed for her that people will have gone and seen it, got what they wanted from it, and still been a bit slaggy offy about the quality of it.
I think possibly it's signaled like a change in Hollywood, because I watched it and I thought, oh my gosh, this is a mere 2 or 3 years away from The Matrix.
Yeah.
Right? Like, these movies were dying.
Yeah.
And even with the next Batman, Schumacher's Batman and Robin, like, it proved without a doubt that no one really wanted this kind of camp anymore.
Yeah.
And we wanted more, Asian influenced cinema, more wire work, more guns, more like the 2000s.
Well, the 2000s was so exciting. Now, it's interesting you talk about the Batman. The Batmans. Now, Halle Berry as Catwoman. Which one is she in?
That's 2005, I want to say.
Oh, is it?
2004? Or 4 or 5?
Oh, I see. Because, of course...
actually, no. The 5 was Batman Begins. Sorry, a little bit.
2002.
Okay.
Because Barb Wire's outfit reminded me somewhat of Halle Berry's Catwoman outfit, to which she had to be sewn into and all that, famously.
Well, there is explicit reference to Batman in
Yes, there is.
in Barb Wire. She
Yes, she
says to
does.
that young woman at the start, do you know Batman? She has that grappling hook.
Yeah.
Udo Kier's Alfred, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think it's a real shame. I had a really good time with this movie, and a lot of it was because of this bygone era of action filmmaking. A couple of years ago, I watched Waterworld for the first time.
Oh.
And again,
I still have never seen that. That was derided.
Like Barbed Wire, yeah. It was. Yeah. It's been a punchline for 20 years.
Yeah.
All I know of Waterworld is it's a pretty kick-ass stunt show in Universal Studios, right? And that movie rules, you guys.
Yeah.
It's totally Mad Max on the high seas with everything that implies. And there's so much creativity and so much just fun action in that movie.
Interesting.
And it lost so much money. Like, oh my gosh, if action movies were still like that today, I think we'd be in a pretty good place.
It's like that the pirate film, is it Cutthroat Island with Gia Davis? I mean, I watched that as a kid and loved it. I haven't gone back and watched it. Or Hook is another good one. I love that film, and they're really panned.
Hook
it's
was
that
panned.
camp quality, I think, you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so when I'm assuming, like, what are some of those big texts of the 90s? Pulp Fiction springs to mind. That started to shift the needle.
Very much.
And what else would have come out before Matrix? That was a really influential.
Crouching Tiger. Oh no, that was 2000.
Yeah.
And then Terminator, the Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Those are far more serious fun, but they take themselves quite seriously, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, can I say, talking of serious, when the titles flashed up as we were watching it last night for the first time ever, and it said 2017, the Second American Civil War, and they talked about using Canadian money and wanting to escape to Canada and how people were not able to traverse borders, I'm afraid it felt
Far too
horribly
real.
prescient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievably.
Yeah, true.
So
Well done, Barb Wire. Well done.
yeah. Oh, and the last thing to say, and I know we might come back to it, but this, what I'm about to say, doesn't happen in Last Showgirl. The Deus Irae, dun, 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 is used all throughout the third act of Barb Wire, which was like, I was like, because I'm always listening out for the Deus Irae in all soundtracks, and that actually, it went up a little bit in my estimation. It may be derivative to use that in that sort of context, but it worked. I was like, this is amazing.
Well, I mean, bouncing off that, why I think I would dock Barb Wire a couple of stars is, like, the soundtrack in bits works for me.
Word Up works.
All together,
Yeah.
it's just a mess, man. Like, there's all sorts of stuff in there.
Yes.
And I think, again, Barbarella's a really good movie. But why Barbarella works is the whole tone is 60s goofiness throughout.
Right.
And the soundtrack is really peppy, whereas there's 90s grunge, but it's not really. And then there's the Deus Irae.
Yeah.
And then there's, like, really orchestral stuff, which reminded me, again, of Candyman. It was just all over the place.
I think that's a 90s thing, because I remember listening to the Matrix soundtrack, and now I'm going to forget all the other soundtracks that I was listening to ad nauseum in the late 90s and into the 2000s. And I feel as though in those days there was this tendency to, and Trainspotting did it as well, they had the most amazing dance hits, they had the most amazing Lou Reed song, they had the most amazing, quite a wide, many genres of songs in one soundtrack, so I feel like that was kind of a thing.
Right.
I can't help but connect this to Charlie's Angels as well, the 2000 G film, because
McG, oh my God, I can't take him seriously, but anyway.
That gets the camp right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's almost, I think, a successor of Barb Wire. Like, there's some definite connections there with cinematography and choice of music. Hey, well, let's talk about The Last Showgirl.
What a different piece.
Very different, yes.
So Gia Coppola, we'll just obviously get it out there. She is Francis Ford Coppola's niece?
Granddaughter.
Granddaughter. Yeah. But she is not Sofia Coppola's... Oh, and hang on. She's Sofia Coppola's cousin. Got it. So Gia Coppola made this movie in Vegas. What did you guys think? Because I really loved it, but I might have overhyped it.
I'll say this to start. Like, I think Pamela Anderson is extraordinary in this movie.
Yes.
I watched Barb Wire first and then Last Showgirl.
Oh, wow.
And the chasm in quality of performance is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Right? She is so good.
Yeah.
And it just made me really sad for all the possible performances that we didn't see from possible projects that might have sprung up.
I know.
It's good that this is a second win for her.
Yeah.
I hope she gets a lot more proper acting roles after this, because I think she carries the movie, really. The cast itself are all really good. Jamie Lee Curtis is always good.
I think Dave Bautista is amazing.
He was, I think, perfectly cast as just this quiet, awkward dude.
And lovely. Like, I believed him. Like, I know we've seen him in, like, Red Onion, White Onion, Silver Onion.
Glass
Onion. I know we've seen him. We've seen him do a different kind of role. I know he can be not just in that Groot movie, but which is what I always say.
Blade Runner. He's also very, very sedate.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
So I liked him a lot in it.
And then again, everyone else. Billie Lourd, I thought was really well cast.
You know who she is?
Yeah,
Carrie Fisher's daughter. Yeah. Debbie Reynolds'
she
granddaughter.
looks like Carrie Fisher. But like even her friends like Brenda Song and Kieran Shipka.
Kieran Shipka, I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I followed her since Mad Men when she grew up in Mad Men. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I personally just want to say I didn't find Pamela Anderson that great.
Okay.
I did think everyone
Is it because there
was
was
great.
no like showering water coming down on a swing?
Yeah,
Is that why?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought she was fine. I think she was very well directed. I thought Billie Lourd did a wonderful job with some, like, she had some, like, her speech was so on the nose.
It was weird.
Yeah.
The one in the kitchen or what?
The one in the dressing room.
Oh, where she dumps her. Oh, right.
It was just so, I was like, humans don't talk like this.
Right,
This is very
okay.
strange, but she sold it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I actually generally had a good time with this.
I did not. I mean, the caveat is I think all the performances are, I thought, really wonderful and really alive. Some of the directing of the performances was a little weird. Like it felt really stagey. And I read into it and it's like, oh gosh, this is adapted from an unproduced play. So that kind of makes sense from Kate Gersten.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
And then a lot of it fell into place for me. Like, okay, this is why I felt like a lot of the movie tried to go for cinema verite, but then had these really weird, almost dreamlike ways of showing how things panned out in a vignette followed by a vignette followed by a vignette.
Do you mean of her standing looking at the light of the sky in Vegas, a la Sean Baker? Or you don't mean those bits?
I have Sean Bacon written down here. I do mean those bits, but really it's like it wants to go for the raw underbelly of Vegas.
Yes.
And at the same time, as you say, Jeremy, I think a lot of the dialogue is nonsense. And it feels really, really stagey, really, really didactic, and gosh, so much exposition.
Yeah.
Like, so much exposition. And I couldn't help but think of Sean Baker.
Yeah.
I've written down here, Sean Baker, Florida Project, Anora.
Yeah.
And again, it's exploring kind of similar themes about like a side of entertainment that we aren't usually privy to.
People who have had it hard and who are just fighters on the street, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I personally got out of The Last Showgirl was just the despair and the misery and the trauma without anything to show for it. Like, it really was very, very loose. Again, what I say about the vignettes, there wasn't much connective tissue between the vignettes, which means that I thought there would be character development from one scene to another, and it just didn't seem to be there. And by the end of it, I found it really dispiriting. This is like, unlike stuff like Florida Project or Anora, which I know we all raved about. But to me, there's a point in those movies.
Sure.
A very definite point. And this, I guess the point is Pamela Anderson herself. And she, again, I think she's really, really good. but maybe it's the movie trying to be built around that character that doesn't quite get there.
The myth of Pamela as well.
Yeah.
Because it's inescapable, isn't it?
Yeah.
That I likened it a little bit to Demi Moore's role in The Substance, obviously for
So many connections.
Absolutely, for very obvious sort of you've reached a certain age.
We almost did The Substance with this as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
We almost did The Last Showgirl and The Substance.
So, except that they're both newer films, and that's not our co-papa.
Well,
I said
we
no.
had done it before.
Well, I don't like
Barbenheimer.
it. Don't like it. But that was a phenomenon.
All right.
But yes, and so obviously, she's the still beautiful, slightly aging, being booted out. Although in this instance, to be fair, the club was being closed, and Dave Bautista still really loved her, but she had been relegated to the back row and stuff, hadn't she? But yeah, it is inescapable when you're dealing with Pamela. I mean, Demi's had a huge career. We've seen her in heaps and heaps of films, including Striptease, which we also decided not to use as a thingy, as a co-film here. But I haven't seen Pamela in heaps of stuff. I never watched Baywatch, actually, but I haven't seen her in a bunch of stuff. But obviously her legend is her legend. But there did seem to be, she was so unvain, and she always looks lovely, but she's so unvain. The only time she's putting the makeup on is when she's about to go out and do the show. But William, when you say, and I'm not arguing with you at all, I'm just saying, it's dispiriting and grim and all that. But was it not that her character was a little bit, I don't want to say simple or Pollyanna-ish, but a bit like always seeing the good or trying to see the good and that kind of thing? It didn't feel wrist-cuttingly kind of grim.
Oh, it wasn't that. It wasn't, there was hope, right? There is the sense of found family, even though she denies it vehemently in scenes.
Yeah.
And her relationship with Jamie Lee Curtis's character is quite lovely, and kind of their bond forged over so many years. But it's just like, I truly felt more and more and more frustrated throughout the movie. It's like, oh, this movie doesn't really have a point.
Sure.
It's a slice of life.
Sure.
I absolutely agree with you, William. And I think for me, the clarity of her character is not there. She's so unaware of what she's done to her daughter, and
I don't think she is unaware, because she was like, but I had to do that. And I think what was interesting, I'm sorry, I've totally trampled, but I'm the girl in the room here. So this is just to say, the 2 points she makes is, 1, I could not look after you the way that you deserved. And 2, I needed to follow my dream. And it's always such a big deal when women, in real life as well as in the movies, when women decide to leave their family or their child or whatever, they're looked at far more harshly than when men do. We kind of, we're used to men abandoning their families and going off with other people, or going off to, live their lives or go to Thailand or whatever. And so it's outrageous that Shelley would have chosen to be a dancer and to follow her dream for 30 years, or not 30. How old is Billie Lourd's character meant to be?
30, right?
Right.
I
So
think
for 30 years, rather than
yeah.
raise her daughter and that kind of thing. And that's interesting and kind of / brave / unusual.
yeah, I think it just was not fully realized. I do love the sequence though with her frustration with the Dave Bautista character going, oh my gosh, I can't catch a break. I really liked that sequence.
Yeah.
But I did feel like I guess the thing for me that stood out that touches on this, and also makes me realize now that it was a play, this makes sense, is that I was like, are we ever going to see the show? Like, I don't think you can get away with making this movie and you never see the show. Like, I don't think it's a Reservoir Dogs where you never see the heist. I was like, I want to see the show.
It's been a while since I saw it. Did we not even get part of it?
We get a little bit at the very end.
Oh, yeah.
So I was quite happy with that.
Yeah.
I was quite happy with that. But I just thought, if they didn't do that, I would have been like, that would have been my no criticism. I would have been like, no. But with that included, I actually still quite enjoyed it. I do think that it is... it needs a bit of development in terms of how it's trying to say what it's trying to say.
Now, Gia's not made a lot of films yet, right? Isn't this only her fourth?
Her third, I think?
Yeah. It's not her quite directorial debut, is it? But I mean, she's still, newish and whatnot. And it's got style, it's got grace.
Yeah. The style
Pamela
overall,
Anderson gave good face.
Yeah.
So,
there's something they do with the lens which I found really interesting. It's
Sort of
like
spread.
Yeah, so, I don't know what lens it
Yeah.
was, but the edges of the screen were kind of fuzzy and
Almost,
out of focus.
I think I
Like
wrongly called
anamorphic?
it
Is that the right
fisheye,
word?
and it's not quite
Okay.
fisheye, but you're right. And there's
Yeah.
another film we've seen that's done that as well. I can't remember now what it was, and I was like, what the heck was that all about? But the whole film had been kind of in that. Yeah,
One thing I
weird.
did enjoy is that, because I've been to Vegas a couple of times, and it did not feel like it was mythologizing Vegas in the same way other films do. It didn't really show many of the landmarks.
It kept it off the strip, right? That's the
that
thing.
horrible blue fairy statue. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Oh, they kept focusing on the statue of the blue fairy.
Yeah.
I think it's next door to New York.
Right.
But it's grotesque and the camera loves it. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
But there was also that sequence where Jamie Lee Curtis went and just danced in the middle of the
Yeah.
casino.
Now, some
which-
people don't like that.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out what... I mean, it was...
I thought it was just meant to be like a silent, lonely dancer because she's hearing Turn Around Bright Eyes, which if you've danced in clubs yourself, not in a professional way, may I say, but if that's your go-to number, then that's quite a touching moment in the film. But it felt obviously very much that it was... I always get my diegetic and non-diegetic mixed up, but the point is that she's hearing it, not the rest of the casino floor, right? And that she's just up there and she's just in her own little world, sort of thing. I don't know. I mean, it's a divisive thing. You can love it or hate it.
I think it's interesting, William, you bring up about the kind of dialogue and things. And it's like this has been directed by someone who I think has been mentored by Coppola. It feels like that. It feels like that kind of improvised, collaborative approach. So there is this lovely quality in that, which I really appreciated.
Especially at the beginning where they have their dinner and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That was really nice.
And I think that is at odds with the way the film's been structured. And,
Right.
And maybe there's too much of an adherence to the script in that sense, because you've got all these bits that just feel like they're not from the script. And like, I guess I'm just echoing what you're saying, William. There is a discordant nature in this film that needed some reworking. There were some moments that reminded me of Lynch, but then kind of didn't have the
Sinister side
wasn't
of
the
it.
sinister side, but more
No.
just didn't have the skills to be able to pull off how you construct an improvised film in post. Like,
Yeah.
Finch always knew how to put things together, even if it didn't always logically make sense. It made sense from a vibe perspective, or a cinematic perspective. There was this cohesive nature to it, regardless of whether you actually knew what was going on. This film didn't quite get there.
Did you like or hate the fact that Dave Bautista was her dad?
I quite appreciated that, and I
liked
appreciated
it.
it because she then rejected him because he was being inappropriate with his criticisms, and I thought, walk away, because up until that point you're like, oh, she's going to have a lovely little
A reunion or rapprochement.
and actually that whole sequence reminded me of The Wrestler as well.
Oh, yes.
Good call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you like or hate, I liked, but did you like or hate the fact that Shelley, has the sort of the fantasy sequence of seeing her daughter watching the show and then that being not true? Because I was fine with that. I was fine with that.
Is it clear that it's not true?
I believe it is
It's
clear.
kind of vague. I mean, Billie Lourd and Bautista, they're sitting together and enjoying it.
Yeah.
But then Billie Lourd is kind of she's backstage and then she's not.
No, but she's left, you see. No,
Yeah.
but you see, she isn't. You see, when she sees her through the flurry of like the feathers, I don't think she is there. I think she's turning and wanting to see that it's her daughter, and that's ghostly as well. That's why I feel like that's because then she looks back and she's not there anymore. So I felt that was meant to be wistful, and the same with the father of the daughter and the daughter are sitting together and they're watching My Last Show, again wistful, because the crushing disappointment of Vegas is that your dreams will not come true.
It's just not clear, because then there's also the way she treats the Kieran Shipka character and the other young woman when she's trying to help her after that audition. It's the only relationship that feels actually kind of developed as the Jamie Lee Curtis relationship, and even that kind of ends. How does it end? She's going to look after her for a little bit.
Yeah, because she lost her home through gambling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it through gambling?
That was my understanding. Right?
Oh, right.
She lost everything. and so she was sleeping out of her car.
Oh, I couldn't remember
Yeah.
that's why.
Right,
But that's an interesting. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? If you don't know for sure, in a way, sometimes that's actually cleverer. I would have thought. I would give more credit to a filmmaker who. It's interesting because it comes back a little bit to what you said before, Jeremy, about whether something is artistically done or just sort of incompetently done.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a film that I saw recently and they didn't explain very much at all. And I remember thinking, oh, but you know what? They didn't need to. I got it. And I was I can't remember what that film was, but I was quite pleased that was the case.
Well, I mean, let's do final thoughts on these films.
Yeah.
So, William, do you want to kick us off? What's your final thoughts on Barb Wire and and The Last Showgirl?
Well, I'll start with The Last Showgirl because I actually started off really liking it. The first maybe 20 minutes, I was in, and the energy was good, and then it just lost me. Like, Sean Connery losing the cure for cancer in that movie.
What?
What was it called? Medicine Man? It's Medicine Man. I found the cure to cancer, but I lost it.
Oh, no!
It's ants.
Okay,
It's
okay.
ants, guys.
Oh, God, okay.
Sorry. It's a weird little thing that popped up. But, I felt like maybe it's on me, and this is completely possible. Like, I wanted a different kind of movie. I wanted something along the lines of, I don't know, Birdman or even Sunset Boulevard.
So
or
something more show related, backstage related.
Yeah, and the backstage stuff I found really entertaining. The whole Chekhov swings and all that stuff, the door handle.
Yes, that's right.
It's all pretty, I enjoyed that a lot. But overall, I just felt like the whole movie didn't cohere in a way that I found, very satisfying as well. Even though the cast was really good. Barb Wire, I have written down here, the 90s, baby. It's just, I love this vibe, and I think I'm going to go back to watch Batman Forever. Like, I remember hating that movie as a kid, and just like, oh, it's so goofy, oh. But maybe that's just what we need in these trying times.
Did I tell you that I rewatched Batman and Robin in the last couple of years?
Oh, okay.
Now that's Chris O'Donnell.
Yes.
And
George Clooney.
Oh, okay,
It's
right.
the one that's probably got the similar rating on IMDb to Barb Wire.
Right.
I had such a good time. I loved it.
Is that Schumacher?
Yeah.
Uma Thurman is
The Poison
Ivy having the
Poison
time of her
Ivy.
life.
Right.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is a
Iceman
ice
or
pun
whatever.
dropping.
Yeah. Mr.
It's
Freeze?
So great. It's so great. It's like, because Batman Forever is the one that everyone kind of thinks is great, and you go back and watch it.
It's
like,
not.
"Oh,
It's bad.
That's not Val Kilmer.
It is. It's Val
okay.
Kilmer. Rest in peace.
Well, yeah.
And Jim
Nicole
Carrey
Kidman.
and Nicole Kidman and Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Um,
I
It's
was gonna say,
actually-
I quite enjoyed Batman and Robin because I
Oh,
feel like
yes.
it tipped into the camp even more, so there's something to actually be enjoyed from it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I did love my time with Barb Wire. Again, I wish it went further into the camp, maybe just a little bit. But for what it was, I'm so glad I finally saw this movie. And yeah, bring back the 90s.
Nice. Sarah.
Temuera, as you said, looking really lovely. Good on him. Using his Kiwi accent.
Oh, kind of, sometimes,
Well,
and then
kind
sometimes
of,
not.
But not trying to be American, which
Yeah.
by then he was capable of doing. And so, yeah, that was nice to see him. Although I didn't think that was a second billing kind of role, but it does show his elevation in Hollywood by that time, doesn't it? Which is nice in and of itself. Yeah, I enjoyed Barb Wire. Now, look, I halfway through it, I said to Doug, this is the kind of film they play at the Hollywood Avondale all the time, and he said, yes, it is. And they're the sort of films that I normally don't have time for, not because I'm highfalutin. Regular listeners will know that I'm not always the sharpest tool in the box. I mean, I am, but I'm also not. But I don't have a lot of time for generic sort of genre movies or exploitation movies or whatever. And I did really enjoy Barb Wire. Can't be bothered to watch it again, but I did really enjoy it. And for all the reasons we've spoken about, and all of those performances, including the blind dude with the hair from Encino Man, you know.
Oh my God, he was in Encino Man.
Yeah.
I know him from the Brady Bunch movie.
Yeah.
Right, you know, and so
When he first appeared, it was like, what kind of performance is this? Oh, I see what
that's
kind
right.
of performance
That's what you
this is.
see. Yeah. So, you know, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But so Barb Wire was a good time. I loved Last Showgirl, and I knew at the
nice.
time that not necessarily everybody would. I gave it a really strong review, and I put that she's, quite frankly, wonderful in it. And I think I just enjoyed losing myself into it and just going with it. Probably for the performances as much as anything. It also reminded me of a little scene filmed by the Ross brothers called Bloody Nose Empty Pockets, which is set off the Vegas Strip as well. And it's the last night of a bar, a Vegas bar, and it's all the locals chatting and getting into fights and all that. And that's a really nice watch. And it's similar in tone to the Last Showgirls kind of, it's off the strip. It's not all the great and beautiful stuff. It's regular people living in trailers or living in kind of, funny little clapboard houses, and life is tough and all that. But I have to say, I thought Pamela was wonderful in both of them. And I did watch her lovely documentary. I have enormous regard for her. And I hear you, Jeremy. I think probably what I'll take away from this whole experience is what you just articulated. Hang on, or was it you, William, who said, it makes you sad to think what might have been in this career. I think you both touched on this a little bit, actually, And I feel for her in that regard, because she wanted to be an actress.
Yeah.
And other things happened and got in the way and stuff and things, So I love where she's at the moment. And she's only 57, so, I'm really hopeful that she will be able to do... Actually, I lie. I think she's 57. Shelley's 57. But actually, how old's Pam?
I do not know.
I'll have a look.
It's funny because last year, the year before, we had Kier Kwan come back.
Oh yeah, she's 57.
The whole
that's right.
Renaissance there, and now we have Pamela Anderson. I'm loving this. It's very, very unseen people. And although I think she had probably a much bigger career than the other two.
She did.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's lovely to see these icons, right, of our childhoods come back and be in a really big way. That's the thing.
So Pamela is 57. Demi's only 62. So hopefully lots more life in the old girls yet.
Nice. I enjoyed both films. I really enjoyed Barb Wire in a way that I didn't expect. But what I will say is that there's, if I was to go back and enjoy the things I like about Barb Wire, I can name probably 5 other films that I would watch in its place over Barb Wire.
Yeah.
And I probably feel similarly about The Last Showgirl. I think about, we've mentioned Anora, we've mentioned The Substance, The Wrestler. There are films that I guess...
I'm interested to see Wrestler again.
Yeah, just some of these films that do what The Last Showgirl does, but better.
Sure.
But hey, look, it was still a good use of my time. My sister was staying with me over the weekend. She really wants to see The Last Showgirl, and I think she'll quite enjoy it. I would suggest it to people. And I think this was a far more enjoyable conversation than I thought it was going to be. Or like I was so much more excited about this beforehand than I was like a few days ago. I think rewatching Barb Wire, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much fun to talk about.
I think also, I can feel that we all have a regard for the lead actress, which I feel quite poignant about.
I think it's just impressive if anyone survives.
Yeah.
And, like you say, there's this nostalgia about people you've cared about from your childhood. I never watched Baywatch. And I don't know why me and my friend watched Barb Wire. Probably because it was something about
You'll have heard a lot about it, and that's
yeah.
right. And it was a big deal when it came out.
Yeah.
And she got that tattoo, and she still has that tattoo because a tattoo is for life, not just for Christmas. But that's kind of adorable that she's still got the Barb Wire tattoo on her arm.
Yeah. Right. Cool. Thank you for listening to another episode of Cinema in Context. If you've got this far, then thank you for listening to my croaky voice. It's not as on point as usual.
It's very sexy.
Wow, we'll give it husky. Yes. Yeah. If you enjoy our podcast, then please share it with your film-loving friends. You can listen to Cinema in Context on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and where all great podcasts can be found. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, which are great places to let us know what you think of this episode, as well as give us suggestions for future films to discuss and compare. Look out for our next episode in a month's time. And until then,
no more am I.